we go. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm fine, George. How are you?
Hang on one moment. Go away. Good dog. We don't need the office dog barking in the background. Who else? We have Jack Heil. We have Dave Prowse. Wow, we've got the band back together. This is great. I've missed you guys. I've missed this meeting, honestly. This is one of my favorite times of the week. So there's been a lot going on. You know, it's cool, guys. And I think I made this comment last week. You know, the community is just churning along, even when I was completely unplugged from it through, you know, things beyond my control. The community has kept churning along. People are meeting, people are collaborating, the coffee Klatsch is happening, the study groups are happening, you know, which is really cool. It's really cool. We're going to build on this. This is we have overcome inertia, is from my perspective. Anybody have any comments on that point? Or
I just want to tell you, George, that coffee class that I attended by myself was probably one of the most brilliant sessions I've ever been.
Was one of them? Were you talking in the echo chamber, Jack?
The intelligence
would have been brilliant.
off the charts.
It would have been brilliant. That's awesome.
It's funny. It's very funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up that recording.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that.
So, yeah, wow. Well, there's a lot. I'm getting back to, you know, just kind of an update from Grand Central here, getting back up to speed, getting my personal inertia going, so I can, you know, keep helping you guys, keep getting resources out to you, and get Project X launched. So it won't be this quarter, but it'll be early next quarter. And that's simply organizing everything we do in the Growth Drive community, adding some tools so that, well, you'll see it's so that you're getting more value out of it, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. It's a lot of work. So I've decided to be kind to myself, and because I do a lot of at least the Overwatch, do it over the holidays. Rather than trying to, you know, Sid, by the way, is getting better every day. So thanks I know I've been getting notes and calls. I really appreciate it. Larry, it was funny. I thought that second batch of licorice came from the same spot as
What a coincidence.
Isn't that funny? Also from a Larry.
Wow. And you sent me that picture. She was so happy too.
she was
okay, like,
it's
great. And I'm like, I don't remember sending that.
That wasn't me. I'll take credit for it. What the heck?
Wrong, Larry.
So one of the things we're doing is, as you may have seen in this morning's email, we're having a test drive for the Business Advisor Peer Group next Wednesday. I really can't overemphasize how great the peer group, how valuable the peer group is, and I know that many of you are touch that world. In fact, Joseph, I think you're our only outlier. So if you have any questions, this is a good group to ask.
Yeah, I didn't get any emails, so I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh, interesting.
I'm talking about this morning's email.
Yes.
I didn't get any email today.
Well, Joseph, you will, and I will also figure out why you did not. So HubSpot is really focused on making sure that we don't spam people's inboxes, and it may have decided that you would be spared the missive. I'll make sure you get the information. I think Sarah also posted it here in Circle. It'll be under events in Circle if you want to register and join. It's free.
Sure. Great.
Yep.
Yeah, as opposed to HubSpot, George doesn't mind spamming you.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. By the way, Steve, thanks for forwarding that email this morning.
No,
you know, they are, I guess it's flattering. I guess ValueBuilder, some of the things that ValueBuilder does are flattering, yeah. But sometimes it is a burr under my saddle. So, I mean, I guess they're repositioning themselves as a marketing company, right?
Yeah, substantially. Yeah.
when it
Oh,
comes-
really?
Which with all respect, right? Marketing is important.
100%. Totally going to marketing. I mean, I'm still connected with them, and I told them that their platform is very wanting, but they have made no bones about the fact that it's converting into a marketing company.
And Joseph, in what way?
The platform is geared to have assessments to intake clients, and then you do whatever you want with them. It used to be before that they would work primarily or focus primarily on one-to-one coaching. That's failing
Right.
because of the depth of the product. So what they're doing is more in terms of like what I would call webinars or like master classes for larger groups as opposed to the one-on-one type of engagement.
Well, the people I've seen that have been successful using it tend to be a lot of fractional people, like fractional CFOs, fractional CMOs, etc. And people use it as a lead gen tool, right? And so
That's what I use.
because it's not very deep, but what it does is it'll basically like, you know, it's an interesting enough tool. It's kind of like the core value discovery, maybe even simpler, but it's, you know, but the idea is that so like say a fractional CFO, you know, you run it and go, oh, you're weak in finances. Well, guess what? I'm a fractional CFO. I'm here to save the day, right? Like that's kind of how it works. So the people who've generally been very high on praising it have generally been those kind of like fractional professionals. But I don't know anybody who's been like a serious like growth planner would use it as like the sole tool. Like, I mean, I guess maybe it's like I've heard of some business coaches sometimes maybe using it, but you know, there's only so much you can do with it.
We use it significantly, but we use it only for clients that don't fit our profile. So if they're not in the 5 to 50 range, instead of like throwing them back into the ocean, so to speak, I mean, we offer them to have a you know, access to the online platform, but it's, you know, we don't interact with the clients at all. We just provide them access to it. We charge them a few $100s a month and say, you know, this is available for you. If you want to take advantage of it, great. Occasionally we will pull them into like a peer group if they really have been hanging around that they need some extra help, but we don't interact with the clients directly at all under the ValueBuilder system.
Interesting. Yeah, and John made a very interesting, and you know, with all respect, I'm not damning with, you know, with all respect, he said, okay, I can either develop deeper technology and compete with, you know, CoreValue and BizEquity and now Capitalize and these other technology companies that have a much deeper stack, or I can reposition the company as a, you know, as a subscription basis biz dev tool, and you know, good for him. You know, I will say that when I think in terms of my personal vision and connecting your expertise with middle market businesses, John Warlow may be playing one level down, and which is great, right? More on the lower middle market and Main Street businesses. I think last I knew, more than half of his data came from $1 million and under. But he is connecting expertise with those businesses and helping those businesses thrive. And that is the arch vision, I think, that we all have to help these businesses grow and prosper and become immortal. So
yeah, honestly, George, I think the writing is on the wall for that company in terms of, you know, what they charge advisors like myself for access to the platform and the type of people that are using it. I mean, their revenues are going to be severely impacted, or people will just, you know, leave the platform. It's not doing what it was designed to do.
you are not the first person to say that, but I'm
Oh,
not going to badmouth what is perceived as a competitor.
Well,
So I guess
I
I
don't
just
honestly, George, I don't see them as a competitor at all.
yeah, nor do I.
They're bloody expensive too, right? Like it's not inexpensive because you have to like, don't you have to do like an expensive like $7,000 course or something before you start, and then you pay like, so it's,
Yeah,
you know.
I did it years ago, so I think the course was like $8,000, and the monthly fee is about $650. So the only reason we still pay is because we still have legacy people still using the platform that we brought in. So it's paying for itself, but if it ever reached a point where it was even remotely close, even break even, we would just probably shut it down.
You know, you guys you just flirted with an interesting point. So when I think about growth drive and the space we want to, in which we play, and the space in which we want to get real traction, and who is playing in that space. So let's put ValueBuilder off to the side. But the fact that they're charging, you know, they've established a price point at $8,000. I don't know what Value Opportunity Profile is charging to become a.
That was 4,500,
4,500. Okay.
4,000, 4,500, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. And I have a spreadsheet but it has older numbers on it. So that's something we need to bone, you know, we'll bone up on, we'll refresh, but it seems to me that growth drive, and this is not an infomercial, but that the growth drive at, you know, let's call it 1,300 for the onboarding. And then if you decided to take the certification workshop, which I hugely recommend, it's another 2,000. We're at about 3,000. Let's call it 3,500 plus some travel. It is I think it's a terrific value, especially because you get this, which is, for those of you who have a copy of it, is, you know,
What I'll do is I'll post it. Mike's not here
somebody
today.
said it was an incredible desk reference, and I'm going to keep using that term. So, and you know, well, more to follow. But
So is that 4,500 just for the software, or is that the certification course for VOP?
Good morning, Barry.
That's the certification course.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what he's
Like it's like a 5-day course. I mean, I haven't looked at it in a couple of years, but it was like
I went through it last year. It was 4,500, but between 4 and 4,500. I don't remember the dollar amount exactly that was, and it was a full week.
But
Pretty
you could
intensive
use the
course.
software without the course, can't you?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
But again, it's another conversation. But I've also had a conversation with Ken over there talking about also his pricing. Look, the real challenge over here is that everyone has to kind of pick their lane and figure out what they want. You know, either you're a complete package, which means you've got a tool, you've got some marketing support, and you've got what I would call a community for people to extract from. And you've got what I would call a complete package. Some of them, you know, are focused on just being a great tool, and that's okay. But you can't charge premium pricing for something that's just a tool without the rest of it, because you get different kinds of people using it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want an advisor to use your product and platform. It's one kind of thing. If you have, for example, financial planner or let's say a financial advisor, let's say a major wirehouse like a Merrill Lynch or something like that, and you know they have clients, they kind of want to add something on the business side. So then I can see that, you know, they might want to pull one of these tools and just have it available. It's a one-off here and there. They'll use the application, but they're not really focused on, let's call it the marketing side or you know, the community support, like what we're doing right now. So that's fine. But I don't think those are the people that are really going to take full advantage of you know, what they're looking for, which is what we have over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Ken's beta class.
10 years ago.
For VOP.
Yeah. And that was a little while ago, right, Barry?
Oh gosh. 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And Ken's a great guy. You know, he's a
wonderful guy. I've spent a lot of time with him.
I know Ken. I don't know John Morello. It's kind of strange. We just have not crossed paths.
Ken's a good guy. He spoke at my CEPA training, and he's
Got it.
really good guy.
Yeah, that's the other company that to pick up on Joseph's comment. It's going to be interesting to watch what happens to EPI. They're run by smart guys, right? It's going to be interesting to watch because they've really moved from exit planning advisory into what I would characterize as exit planning conversation. With all due respect to Chris's book and to the program, it's a great program, you know, that, but they've just, with their emphasis, which has been very good for them financially on wealth advisors. When I skip back to the vision of actually connecting businesses to expertise that's going to help them become immortal, I think the wealth advisor is not the correct vehicle. Excellent center of influence for us as growth advisors. So it's going to be, it's interesting to watch. You know, I've been in the market long enough now, 10 years, like a lot of you guys, that, you know, we're watching it evolve, and it's interesting to see where it's going. And,
They're doing EOS too, just like you guys.
are they doing EOS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, EOS is it got its tentacles out. I think EOS is interesting. I also think it's. What do you guys think of EOS?
Oh, I have a very strong opinion.
Go ahead, Jim.
I think EOS is a fantastic tool, but people have to understand its place. It's a great day-to-day management, day-to-day operating system. But the real challenge.
Larry, could you mute, please?
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
It's a great day-to-day management operating system. The real problem is that the rocks that they select are very wanting. The tools they have there don't work. So as opposed to, for example, something the growth drive, which really identifies what are the real primary objectives that really need to be attacked by the company, and then you would go to an EOS. EOS would implement the system into the company, but then you need a fractional integrator or a fractional executive to come in and to be able to actually implement and execute. So that's, you know, they're two different things. I think the challenge with EPI is that there's no mechanism for execution. It's great from an educational standpoint. It tells you a lot of information, and it's good information for you to know, but there's just no network and infrastructure for execution unless you want to become a full-time exit planner, which I think is not going to work for the vast majority of people.
Great.
Well, it's a challenge because it's a methodology, right? It's not a system. So it's basically like, you know, you still have to figure out your own system and then lace it on top of their methodology, which is challenging to most people, because if you've never thought about it before, you're kind of like left to think about it. So I think that's a struggle of most people when they come out of the program, is like, okay, well, what do I do now? How like you said, how do you execute it, right? And you know, that's something.
It's more than just that. It's because you need a very deep network of very varied professionals in order to be able to execute. Unless you have that team internally, which is going to be extremely rare. I mean, you need someone who has tax, legal. There's a very large network of people that you need to be able to rely on and to work with in order to make it work. And again, unless that's your total focus as an exit planning advisory, you know, I mean, most financial advisors, whether they're working for a wealth management firm or you know, whatever it is, I mean, they just don't have those resources, and quite frankly, they don't have those relationships to be able to execute. So why are you having that conversation with your client?
That's a really interesting point. And when we think about compliance, you know, the eye of God staring down at a wealth advisor, and we've seen people lose their, you know, be escorted to the curb because they were using, because they were getting involved in, perceived to be involved in delivering advisory. And those, you know, those, I think they're all men. Those men have all ended up in a happy place. But anyway, you know,
George,
go ahead, Larry.
yeah, I was just going to add that from this conversation, it's clear that all these systems or tools or concepts of how to engage with a client fit some continuum, and they have their place. They have also their moment of time. But I don't know any that really does more holistically up front as a deeper diagnostic tool than what CoreValue does. And so from a marketing standpoint, in a very what seems to be a saturated market, is how do you go ahead and grab the attention of your audience for them to understand that the start point for all this has to be a more deeper, holistic view of a company, both for valuation and growth in the 3 dimensions context. And that the others might have their place, like EOS on the execution side, if you have an integrator or, whatever it might be. And I just think this could be a great marketing opportunity. And when you say, hey, I respect ValueBuilder, but they're changing, I think that's an opportunity for you.
Yep.
There are people who are probably many dissatisfied right now with what ValueBuilder promised versus what it's really delivering. And a couple left your community to go to their community, and I'm not hearing they're thrilled. So I look at this as an opportunity.
Yeah,
That's
Larry,
that's
I
a
agree with
tremendous
you.
point. Go ahead,
George,
George.
sorry to interrupt. I would just say, look, I think there's two things that everyone can, we can all agree. I think we would all agree on. Number one, most clients, they don't want information. They want execution, right? I have a goal and I want to get to that goal. So all of these tools and things are nice. It's nice to say I'm a value builder, but who cares? What does that give me? I want to know exactly what you're going to execute, number one, and I want to know what the value proposition. I think that's where most people lack. So for example, the difference with the, with the discovery and the deep dive is I can turn around and say, look, you're going to do this. It's going to tell you exactly what you're going to need to do. We can figure out what's the investment that you have to make in order to achieve that goal. So I can say to them, okay, this is going to increase the value of your company by $1 million, and it's probably going to cost you $100,000 along the process. These are the steps that you need to do. So it becomes very clear. You make it easy for the business owner to make a decision. Most of these other tools don't have that, or they have a portion of the component. It makes it very, very difficult to, what I would say, engage with clients or potential clients and prospects.
Interesting. Thank you. And I agree.
I get asked sometimes about ValueBuilder a lot, and I always give my honest opinion. I say I think it's good for what it's designed for, which I think is a lead gen tool. But yeah, I've never run into anybody who's used it. Who one application I think would be also really good if I was a business broker dealing with businesses under $1 million. I think like Main Street businesses. I think a tool like that, because you don't really need to do crazy deep dives for those businesses. You just need to like pinpoint like things that are like, because I think didn't ValueBuilder wasn't originally called the sellability score. It was like for something very simple, right?
Was sellability score.
Yeah, it was just a simple idea, and then he monetized it differently. But I think his original idea was was a good one. I mean, it's a limited application, but I think for those type of like smaller type of businesses, it's probably somewhat useful. I think it's okay. I always tell people it's good to start the discussion, like, but you're not going to solve anybody's problems using it.
Well, and I can't speak to the people who I don't hear from the happy ValueBuilder customers, but the folks who I do hear from, and there are a lot of them in our community, is it goes to Joseph's point earlier, that there's no, who said it? I'll spare his name. I know exactly what he said, but he said, listen, there's no there. So I invested a lot of money, and then there was nothing there. And when we think about, and now I'm getting on my soapbox, I'm getting a little salesy, I apologize, but the reason that Growth Drive exists is because people do discover, and then they say, okay, George, I did discover, it was great, now what? Hey, George, I did the deep dive analysis, that was great, now what? And the now what is make the business easier to run, grow the business, and or create monetizable value. Those are the now what's. But then we have to step back and say, how the hell are we going to do that? And I'm done with my infomercial, but that's super powerful. And the marketing tools and collateral that are attached to the advisor's buyer's journey. Stay tuned, because that is on my desk right here. Goes to the now what, and is designed specifically so you can have a deeper conversation with qualified people who are qualified, that are not going to be wasting your time. So how do you qualify them? And then how do you help them understand why you're valuable? Okay, I'm done with the
Yeah,
infomercial.
no, that's the process, but I would say that the word, the verbiage, increase your value or exit planning. I mean, those are dogs. Nobody
Yes,
wants to
they are.
hear it.
Everyone's talking about
So
growth.
you
Yeah.
just using the language value builder, what does that mean?
Mhm.
Right? Value for you, everything is different. It wasn't you're a value builder. You tell someone that you're helping their company grow their revenues or grow their profits, it's pretty clear what you do.
Mhm. Yeah.
They may not know how you do it, but they know what you do.
Well, that goes to a comment that a couple of you have made about the 3 dimensions of business. In fact, I think Scott Barth made it just yesterday. When we think in terms of the 3 dimensions of business growth, it's very relatable as a business owner. 3 dimensions of business growth. What are they? Well, they're creating predictable revenues, predictable growth, and predictable equity value. And now we can have a conversation about what those are. And I would love your feedback as you guys are having these conversations, and I'm getting it. Well, we'll workshop this. How are clients reacting? What can we add to that conversation? And how can we help you? How can I help? That's my kind of my motto. How can I help?
We're a deep community, George. I
Yep.
mean, these conversations have depth, and many of the others do. And so that might speak to a whole, from a marketing standpoint, to Joseph's point, certain phrases and words that could attract those in the community that understand and want the growth drive and core value versus a superficial just lead generation tool that is sexy on the front end but really has no depth. So good.
So, George, that's what I find myself sort of longing for at this point, is that boost to a lead generation tool with content and messaging. And I don't know about the advisor's buyer journey, what you're talking about there, but it just seems like it would be very, very helpful. I don't know. I was thinking in terms of like a co-op with someone that would develop core value content, and we could share in that, and then we could blow that out to our communities.
Jack, the co-op is coming. I was going to announce it at the conference. I know you can't be at the February conference, but the co-op it exists. It's in a can. The co-op has 3 levels. One is the self-serve. We're going to put some content out there. Then there are 2 stripes of paid, and that co-op exists and is coming and is very, very, is very cost effective. It's an additional charge because I'm putting it in the hands of a marketing professional, someone who can help create it, but then importantly, help deliver it, and leveraging a lot of the best-in-class free tools that are out there. For example, that I beat the HubSpot drum. In fact, I have a meeting with them in an hour. But does that answer your question, Jack?
Yeah, I think that's, it would be really helpful to me, being selfish on this call, but I just think that having some kind of boost, I just don't have that creative writing skill set. And I think I'm hearing on here that everybody else is that same way. I've been struggling with value and exit don't have some kind of resonation with the prospect. And so what is that? And I've been looking for that. And I think if we took our buying power with a bunch of us and said, hey, we can isolate on one marketing firm that understands core value and where it's trying to go with its advisors, then boom, we can, multiply that content and that messaging throughout the country.
Jack, have you had already a handful of customers using Growth Drive?
Are you asking me?
Yes, you.
Now, I've only got 2 experiences with Discover.
Got it. Well, usually the best way for this kind of, to look at this is really to take a handful of your clients and have someone who's a professional marketer sit down and have a discussion, making us, figure out exactly what's the messaging that's attracting the clients that you're bringing in. And then you would develop a brand message around that. So, you're solving a certain kind of pain point for your niche group of people that you're bringing in, and you would create your own personal marketing message. I think the function of, the co-op would be just to have some general marketing information you can put out there, whether using LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, whatever it is that you're using, whatever medium you're using, is just to have some content, because if you have nothing, it's worse than having something that's not great, because you need to be in people's minds. People need to know you exist. So, but I'm
And-
not sure if what George is going to do is going to help you specifically if you want something that's very specific and geared to your potential customers.
It is, Joseph, that's a fabulous point. And part of what this co-op will deliver are blog posts written for you that we will brand and put out with an easily executable, easily followable recipe. Let's watch for the webinar on that, because we're going to get that going. That's part of so, there's a point that was implied earlier that I'd love to pick up on, and maybe this is what we can discuss next week. I know we just passed the top of the hour. Guys, there's CoreValue is a tool, and it's a fantastic tool. Everything else is what we do with a client, right? The 3 dimensions of business growth, and leading engagements, designing a company that can meet whatever, identifying the correct goal, and then designing a company that can reach that goal. That maybe that goal is just one of a few options you can redesign the company to reach. And I see Aurora Capital Group, business performance architects. I absolutely love that tagline, because that's what you gentlemen and ladies, that we have no ladies on this call, but are doing out there. You're helping you're helping redesign the business. So if we think about CoreValue as a tool, and CoreValue has a market, has goals, right? And growth drive. Growth drive is much broader than the tool, right? That's a conversation I'd love to have with you guys. Maybe we can do that next Tuesday.
Good conversation, George, to have, and I think it's inferring how the community is maturing, how you're going to support the community as we mature, including some of the generic messaging and for business development, but also how we position CoreValue in the context of that growth, 3 dimensions of growth conversation. So many of us led with CoreValue, but now we're really leading with the 3 dimensions of growth. And I think there's elements we already have. We forget all the materials, but that it's like a dream, that opening discover conversation that is in the training, but is it module 5 or 6, somewhere in there? That's an excellent primer for some of not only the conversations to get into the direction to go and when to bring in the CoreValue tool, but to pull marketing messages as well out of that. So sometimes we forget we have everything in place. It's a matter of how we cull out of it the magic bullets from it. I just one more on. I think as the community's gotten bigger, I'm losing track of who's in growth drive community. And if we could have a place, whether it's in Circle or somewhere else, that we could go to see everyone by photo, name a company, where we're located, our background, our strengths, what we rely on to win in the market. And that we could build that community where we have access to everybody easily. Click on email, click on, so that it's not just a coffee Klatsch and other conferences or moments, but we have ongoing access to each other and we see the full community.
So that's what Circle should be delivering. And if it's not, because when I am Scott Barth through Circle, it ends up in his email inbox, right? So how do we I'm going to continue to move to push things into Circle, including the coffee Klatsch, right? The technology's there. We can run videos and So Larry, then there's another question that you didn't bring up, but how big do we want our community to be? And we're nowhere near, how do we keep it intimate and deeply collaborative? That's my, how can make sure that it continues to deliver value? I'd rather have a smaller community, and my sense is you guys would as well, rather have a smaller community, a few hundred people that are that are getting a lot of value out of it, rather than a NACFA, again, with all due respect, that has 7,000 members who don't really talk to each other.
George, does that relate to the number of customers that you want to have as growth drive?
Barry, it relates to the number of customers I would want to have in the inner circle. I don't know a better term, because there are people who, you know, in the CoreValue community and in the growth drive community who show up. And we really want the people who are going to show up, who are bringing their experience to the table. And I'm sorry if I'm not saying this very artfully, but who are bringing, you know, the people who are in and want to participate and want to collaborate and have things to share and are also learning from the community. And you guys all share, you always give, and you're also getting back. You know, as Jack says, there's always a golden nugget. I've got several out of today's coffee Klatsch, and I hope you guys do too. I think that's why you show up every week. And we can't have 200 people on the coffee Klatsch, so Barry, I think the longer answer is are there levels, you know, and I think of them as circles. Is there a circle of, let's say, 200 people who are, you know, are sort of all in? And then is there a bigger circle that maybe there's 1,000 total who are, you know, just, we're getting referrals from them. They're showing up to participate they're less engaged. I don't think I answered your question. I apologize.
Well, yes and no. Okay. I mean, you know, what's the entry point to be in that, call it the elite and the non-elite, you know, group.
So
You've got one group that, let's say, is 200 members. That is the elite group. I'm making this up.
Sure.
And then you've got 1,000 members in the non-elite group.
Yes.
So what qualifies somebody to be in the top group versus not the top group?
I'm gonna pause the recording and answer that question.
When you're ready,
When
when you're ready, I would ask, I'll ask it. I don't want to, I just wanted them 60 seconds. Now? I
Please.
wasn't sure. Oh, okay. So I emailed you, you can answer it. I'm not sure if anyone else this applies to. A few years ago, I conducted a couple with Discover and a deep dive. And there's no way in hell they remember their passwords. And I want them to redo the one Discover and the other Discover and deep dive. How do we do that with if they're starting Discover? Do they have to just use the same email, change their password, or what are your recommendations?
Yeah, so what we'll do, because because CoreValue software uses the email as its unique identifier, what we should do is the gating question is, do you care if we keep? I mean, you can download a PDF of those reports. Do you care if we keep those reports? And do you need them to be in your dashboard? If you don't, then just delete the client and they can come back in. All right, Barry, have a great day, man. Thank you.
You too. Take care.
If you don't, then you can delete the Discover and delete and away you go.
I delete them. I'll download, keep them, which is easy, and then delete them, and then they start from scratch.
That frees up the email address, because the email address inside CoreValue is like I just realized I don't have my phone. The email address is like, I always hold up my phone. It's like your phone number. Yeah, and that'll just free up the email address and away they go.
Okay, cool. Very good.
Easy. Yeah, man.
Very good.
That's easy. That's a chip shot.
I told you. Yeah. just want to know.
Cool. Guys, this is a terrific conversation. Thank you very much. I really value and appreciate getting your perspectives from out in the, from what you're seeing with working with clients and what you want for your own practices. It's important and very valuable for me. So thank you. The case studies, a number of you have already said, yeah, we're going to put some case studies in the book. And there are times like right now when I ask myself, should the book be CEO facing but advisor focused is where we're going to start. That's our world. That's my vision and mission. And And then we'll do a derivative work that's CEO focused.
Hey, George, is the case study outline available? I liked those questions. And
Sure.
they actually helped me with some of the ones I'm working on right now.
I will, you know what I will do? I will publish it to, I'll publish it in Circle. I don't know if Sarah's on here. It'll be on Circle before the end of the day. And make, what I need to add to it is an outline so that you don't get in. That's the only comment I got back is I started, you know, my answer to the first question actually applied better to the third one. So I'll give an outline. Here's what we're going to cover. That'll take me a few minutes. I'll do it right now. I'll post it in Circle, Jack. Issue, rule, application, conclusion. It's something we learned in law school that has served me really well my whole life. So
Yeah, they sounded like good questions. Thank you.
sure, man. Yeah, it's my pleasure, Jack.
All right. Great, George.
This was really fun. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day, everyone. If you have any questions, comments, you know, fire away, hit me in Circle. Happy to answer. Okay.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Have a good one.